This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Michelle Humphrey, or Stroke Mom, as she's known on social media. Michelle invites us into a deeply personal journey, one that challenges the definition of a real life and a real job. Michelle reflects on the day everything changed, a bilateral pons stroke during pregnancy at age 43, a confrontation with death, and an unrelenting challenge to rebuild a life that no longer fit society's expectations. From a hospital bed to a daily practice of gratitude, from the loss of loved ones to becoming an energy-giving presence, this story uncovers the lessons that death teaches us about living. It's about grieving, growing, and redefining what it means to show up authentically, even in the face of unimaginable hardship. We'll hear how the best parts of life emerge from the worst. Thank you for joining us for Part 2, Michelle Humphrey's interview.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we cultivate a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause, a moment to honor the way that wisdom has emerged through recovery. And we give thanks. Now, Michelle Humphrey's interview. Michelle, thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Before you had your stroke, Michelle, what did you know about strokes?
Well, that's really embarrassing. The answer is I knew nothing, but I should have known a lot. Both my grandpa and my aunt had a stroke, and she was in a wheelchair, and she was never able to speak again. So I should know a lot, but I knew nothing.
What do you remember about your aunt not being able to speak?
Well, what I found impressive is that she was the same person. Like before the stroke, she was very talkative and lively. And after the stroke, she was still the same, but only with the spellboard and like expressions with a facial expression. That's what stuck out to me.
Yeah, so she'd use a spellboard in order to get across what she wanted to get across.
Yeah, which I was like, at the time, I was like, oh my God, that must be awful. And then here I was 30 years later using a spellboard.
A spellboard. Yeah. One thing that you mentioned in your story was that you had locked-in syndrome at the beginning.
Yeah.
What was that like? What do you remember about being locked in? Well, locked-in syndrome is a neurological condition that causes nearly all voluntary muscles except for the
eyeballs.
The eyeballs. So you're locked in. Tell me about that.
You're literally trapped in your own body. And what I remember about this is awful. But what I remember is I got really good at yelling at John with my eyeballs.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
Well, like for example, at the first hospital, like I think it was the first day, they brought an email that my brother sent. And so John took it and he read it to himself and then he put it away. And I'm like, dude. So the way I did it was I was like,
Whoa, that's quite a stare, Michelle.
because that's all I could do is open them wide. But
Uh-huh.
that's what I remember. Because I was like, how could you really gonna read it to yourself and not out loud?
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because people who have a deep relationship, sometimes the nonverbal communication is really strong. But your eyes, the way that you just opened your eyes so wide, I think anyone can tell that that's a shout.
Well, and he's really good at it too.
So, what were your thoughts and feelings when you woke up and realized that you couldn't move anything but your eyes?
Well, I didn't really understand it, and I didn't understand, thank God, that it could be permanent. Like
Mm.
there's a lot of people that stay that way, and can't even imagine like having to live like that, like being able to think and blink, and that's about it. I wasn't very stressed about it because I just assumed it could go away, or it
Mm.
would go away, which it did, thank God.
Mm. That goes to your Pollyanna mindset. You're
Yeah,
always thinking the best. Yeah. And how did that experience change your outlook on life now?
honestly, it changed everything from this way I always put it from I have to I get to. Like an example is the dentist. Like before it used to be I have to go to the dentist, whereas now it's I get to go to the dentist. Like even the bad stuff now is good.
Yeah. Sorry, dentists. Yes. What were your first functionalities to return?
I think my legs. At Rick, they did a lot of studies. I remember my OT, I didn't qualify for her study because my arm didn't move good enough. And that's all we worked on was my arm. But anyway, I'm an overachiever. So I was like, I have to take your study. I can't stand that I don't qualify. I don't even know what the study was. So she let me take it for fun weekly. And I remember like when they finally got me to Rick, there was only a twinge in my arm that you could see in the muscle. I couldn't actually move it. And I remember John telling me he asked her, is there anything you can do? And she was like, aghast, there's tons we can do. She's got a twinge. That's how they are. Like they literally work miracles at
Uh,
Rick.
well, and you had more than a little bit of responsibility for that. Which hospital was that?
Well, now it's called Shirley Ryan Ability
Oh.
Lab, but when I was there, it was called RIC, which stood for Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. And after I was there, they built a new building and gave it a new name.
Uh, they should have named it Michelle Humphrey Hospital. In your story, you said that stroke recovery was secondary for you because you had lost a baby and no one said specifically outright that that had happened. You just
Can
started
you believe
realizing.
that? No one told me. I like was watching John read. I was like, "Can you proofread this?" And had him read the story, and I was like, "I don't know if he even knows that." And I
Mm.
was waiting to see like if there was a big surprise, which I don't think he knew that
Oh,
because
wow.
it's not like we talked about any of this. But I mean, I was so mad. Like the only way I figured it out was A, my pants suddenly fit, and I don't know why that sticks out of me. And B, like everyone's faces kind of gave it away.
Mm.
That was all I had to go on.
Mm. And looking back at how that situation was handled, how has the lack of direct dialogue in that moment informed your communication moving forward?
Well, I'd say it set the tone for everything from that point forward. I didn't trust anybody. I remember there was this guy from our insurance that came because he had to basically check out that it was a legit place and that I legit had a stroke because you know how much it costs. And I remember when he came from California, we had to meet with him, and I remember spelling out spy to John. This guy's not from our insurance. He's a spy. I didn't trust anybody.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's hard to trust anybody when you know that the truth isn't being said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how has that informed your communication style moving forward?
For the most part, I'm pretty straightforward, like black and white. Like if I'm thinking something, I'll say it. I don't mince words, let's put it that way, which that isn't necessarily a good quality, but I'd rather be honest and direct than dishonest and pussyfoot around.
Yeah, you always say I'm an open book, and there are a lot of difficult things that have happened to you in your life. And the way that you are able to talk about it can be very refreshing for many of us because those are the things that we're afraid to ask people, or people have experienced something similar and they never hear anyone else talk about it. Thank
That
you
is
for.
true. I was forced, not forced, that's the wrong word. I have aphasia, so I may use the wrong word. I had to tell the whole story from day one because I was in the hospital initially. They thought I had a maternity problem, and I was mad that I didn't get to announce the pregnancy like normal people. So I announced it the day before the stroke. So because of that, I had to go back and be like, well, whereas if I had never announced it, wouldn't necessarily have had to talk about it. I'm glad it happened that way because I don't know that I would have had the gumption to talk about it unless I was forced to.
Hmm. Yeah. How do you continue to honor yourself and the baby and that moment in your life now?
Yeah, I used to joke that I was the Pied Piper of miscarriage. That's not funny. Just because there was, after it happened, after my story got, got out, so many people came up and told me their story. It seemed like there was a comfort level, like, you've been there. And I was like, just amazed how many people came up and had this sort of situation, like a lot. Basically, if you look around the room, whatever room you're in, one in every four people has been there because
When,
they always forget that guys are involved too, especially with infertility treatment.
wow, wow. Well, that is really big of you to be able to hold space and to share about your experience with other people that are in search of solidarity. That is a beautiful way to honor your experience and honor the baby. You mentioned it was helpful to learn about the 7 stages of grief: shock, anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and processing grief. Do you remember the first moment that you heard about those stages?
Well, I should have heard about them when I was dealing with grieving my mom's death, but I went through the stages not knowing there was names or stages. I didn't hear about it until actually at Rick, they talked about it a lot.
How did the experience of naming them change your outlook?
I kind of organized them, made a checklist of sorts. Okay, I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that. I'm a big believer in getting grief out of the way. It's gonna happen at some point. You might as well do it on your terms. If you try and push it off, it it will decide for you how and when, whereas you have some control if you just deal with it. So it's not necessarily in 1 to 7 order. It can be out of order.
So, do you feel at this point that you've progressed through each of the stages of grief for stroke recovery?
Yes.
And how is that helpful?
In moving forward, it means that instead of looking at it as rehabilitation, I look at it as more of a lifestyle. I still do the same things like treadmill and speech therapy and official, but yelling at Walter and
Yelling at Walter.
in the OT. I do art all the time. So I'm still technically doing those things, but now it's just a lifestyle more than I have to do it for rehab.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Where do you find community these days?
So I found this place at mather.com where they have a ton, not just the art class, they have a ton of classes, but I, of course, hone in on the art classes. And there are people across the world that go to these classes. So that I'm good in a Zoom community.
You're good in a Zoom community. So that's Mather, MATHER.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And they offer free classes to anyone over 50.
Yes.
And if you live in Illinois, you get the supplies for their Do It Together kit, which I am going to in an hour as my first one of the new session.
Yes. Yes. You are highly engaged with people over Zoom and over Instagram too. You are such a bubble of light. I love our moments of deep reflection and laughter together. You have a really good sense of humor. How do you keep that balance?
Well, I don't. I always got the sense of humor. Okay, this is going way back, but I believe strongly in humor. If you're working hard, I don't see what's wrong with making it fun, finding humor. Even in my PT at Rick, I got my PT in trouble where we were laughing so hard that his boss came in the hall and said, "Okay, guys, somebody has to take this seriously." And the thing was, I was working hard, but I don't see what's wrong. And the same thing happened when I was in high school. I got cut from the volleyball team because I was not goofing off, making humor in warm ups because they're so boring. But I was doing the warm ups, but trying to have fun at the same time. I personally don't see where that's from. So I oftentimes get in trouble for my humor.
You have good humor. You have a lot of great jokes. You keep us on our toes. You keep us laughing. You also mentioned that Walter, your son, Woe, likes to play a game with you. You have pseudobulbar affect. And can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
It's easier if you just call it PVA. Basically, it's that your outer body emotion doesn't match your inner body emotion. So you may be crying, but you're not sad. And so I couldn't go to my dad's funeral recently because I have a tendency to laugh at funeral and things like that. Like I can't go to weddings because I cry, which people do cry at weddings, but I mean I howl and I don't want to be this practical take away from. So usually Woe and John will go to the wedding and then come get me for the reception. I'm okay at the reception, but not the wedding.
Huh. So your body, like the outside, is crying, let's say in a happy scene, or laughing
Right.
in a place where other
Yes.
people are sad. What are your inside feelings in those moments?
Usually the opposite of what I'm doing outwardly. if I'm crying on the outside, on the inside, I'm not necessarily laughing, but I'm not sad,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there any way to try to control it?
I take New Dextro, which is a really strong medication. My shrink is he specializes in brain injuries, and he's so smart. I take New Dextro, but alongside that, I will try and like recite the alphabet in my head. And if you're sitting down, if you just stand up and change your body position, that could be enough to jar yourself back into normalcy. But I can't do that in church because then they'll be like, why is she standing up? So I don't do that one unless I'm like somewhere where I can do it, like a movie theater that's dark or something like that. It
Wow.
works better than reciting the alphabet
And why does reciting the alphabet help?
because it's the emotionality of the subject that gets me going and keeps me going. So if I like have the alphabet, which is very non-emotional here, I can push the emotional topic outside of that bubble, and then it gives me some control, and maybe I can calm down.
I
But
see.
in the early days, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like there was, it was just off to the races for half an hour.
How did you start controlling it?
Well, it took time. I tried from day one. I knew that if I could start breathing, it would get better and go away. And my doctor used to, Shelly, you gotta breathe. It's like, I know I'm gonna breathe it. My body won't let me. And like, I don't know why I can't breathe. So it took years to get to the point where I could try and breathe or try and calm myself down enough to breathe. Once I start breathing, it gets a lot better. Like
Mm.
I feel like once I start breathing, I feel like I have control.
That goes for life. Once we start breathing, we have a little more control.
That is true.
I think of when we're in a laughing fit, we can't breathe. And someone's
Right.
like,
It's like that.
breathe. And we're like, we're trying, or when we're crying, sometimes it's hard to get a breath in or slow the breath down. Our body, like you said, is off to the races. And it sounds like that happens with you often.
I mean, it used to happen just at someone saying, Hi, Michelle.
Mm.
Whereas now it takes like an actual emotional topic discussion to bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Mm.
like for example, last night we had a thing at the high school where they can explore the different classes. There
Mm-hmm.
you have option to take. And we of course went to the graphic art section. And when I saw the room, I could feel the PBA going on because it wasn't emotional, but it was like, I'm so jealous.
You're
And
in
so I guess it was
awe.
emotional. And then John even sensed it coming, and the teacher was talking. I'm like, stop talking.
Okay. Yeah, were you in awe of the room that had so much opportunity for your son?
I was because when I was in high school, there was like even some jobs I've been at haven't had that nice of a setup. It was
Yeah,
pretty slick. Made
awesome.
me want to go to high school again.
Yeah. Well, my next question was what makes you feel alive? But you shine so brightly. So what makes you feel alive and what makes you shine? How do you cultivate that?
Well, doing art of any kind, I turn everything into an art project. But you know, to dip pen, it's like a glass pen that you dip into a bottle of ink and write. So, like, I'll do that with my grocery list. I don't have to because that's ridiculous, but it's more arty if I do it that way than if I just use a ballpoint pen. So, things like that.
The aesthetics. You make things aesthetically pleasing and fun.
Exactly, back to the fun.
Back to the fun. Oh, Michelle, you are such a bright light in my life. You are
Uh,
always so supportive. I even receive physical mail from you, and I know it's from you because it's bright and colorful. And
that's
I'm
right.
really thankful for the way that you have been so supportive of me and of Beyond Stillness and of the stroke community. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you too for taking the time that you have with me. That's been fun.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wouldn't just say because it's like pulling teeth to get me to talk, but I had no problem talking to you. Like it you make me want to talk, which I've never experienced.
My dear, and thank you for being such an open book. These are really tough things to talk about, and there are a lot of people out there that are yearning to hear from people who have gone through similar experiences. And the fact that you show up and always say, I'm an open book, makes us realize that there is a community out there and there are people to live in solidarity with. And you shine, you're a light in our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
What I loved most, and I knew this was what was going to happen, is that you gave me a new way to approach my story. Like,
Oh,
I'm so sick of thinking about it and telling it. I've been saying it for 12 years,
yeah.
but now you've given me a new way to think about it, which I like the way of thinking about it. Like,
Awesome.
I've never thought about it is my real job.
And it's funny because you say it's your new way to think about it, but I'm just saying back to you what you said to me. So you've been saying it, but you haven't been thinking about it in that way, I guess.
You organize the thoughts.
Mm, mm. I just, I am in awe of you. Like looking back through all the notes that I took within our meetings, and then also all the written homework that you sent. There are so many different ways to weave these together.
That's why I knew you were gonna find something I had never thought of,
Oh,
some avenue of explaining. And you explain PBA better than anybody ever has, including myself. I never know how to explain it, but you really, in a couple sentences, just boom, narrowed it down. I love it.
again, I copied and pasted that from what you told me it was.
Really?
Yeah, I copied and pasted it from my notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we did it. If you think about it, all the podcasts are like kind of the same and like the same people move through it, whereas you develop each person you were meeting with and you get to know them, and it shows in the podcast. I think that makes yours stand out different from the other stroke podcasts,
Hmm.
if that
Thank,
makes sense.
thank you. Well, the hope is that it's just as much for the guest as it is for the listener.
I think it is.
Hmm.
At least for, I mean, look at what everyone does that comes to group. They're all there because they're had such a good time meeting with you and didn't want it to end. Everybody has the same. I
Oh,
think it is because
and they connect with each other.
I like that. Thank you, Molly.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow survivors. In a moment, I will read questions aloud. You can also find them written in the podcast episode description. Community conversation prompts. How has your understanding of time shifted since your stroke? What does living in the present moment mean to you now? In what ways has grief helped you grow?
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Thank you for joining us for Part 2, Michelle Humphrey's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Michelle Humphrey's story. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Michelle's story reminds us that life isn't about checking off to-do lists or chasing societal definitions of success. It's about finding purpose in the present moment, showing up authentically, and embracing the best parts, even amidst the hardest challenges. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, or subscribe to the show, and consider donating to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Together, we can amplify survivor voices of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.